Hey everyone, welcome to another edition, not just another edition though, the 100th edition of Super Prime UK with your Super Prime MJ Group valuers, myself, Rob Cohen.
And myself, James Wild.
Great to have you. What a special edition we have, 100 episodes of the show. What a journey, what volatility, what uncertainty. The world is a completely different place today than it was 100 episodes ago. At the same time, all of the news, the detail, the data, the intel, the updates on the property market, on fiscal policy, on macro and microeconomic details are coming to you quick and fast as the world moves at the great pace that it is. And we will be providing you with all of those updates today, as we do week in, week out. James, so much happening. Let's go straight into it. Tell us everything that's going on.
Thanks, Rob. So it's been a busy week so far in politics this week, obviously with Boris Johnson announcing that he's going to be stepping down as Prime Minister. We're obviously going to see a bit of a leadership struggle possibly in the party there. And obviously we'll have to wait and see who sort of gathers the most sort of political lobbying to actually sort of take over as leader of the Conservative Party.
Yeah, it's every day there is something. That the pound has taken a hammering this week against the dollar and also the euro. That generally isn't good for the economy. At the same time, it can be attractive for those international buyers who are looking for opportunities in prime, super prime.
That's it, definitely, Rob. It's been some time since the pound's been so low against the dollar, so possibly some more overseas buyers from the Americas coming over this summer. We'll have to wait and see what happens there, and is it going to be the summer whereby the Middle Eastern buyers also return to London? And just speaking to some agents, Rob, there has been a slight uptick there from what I'm hearing on the ground there. But no, the main sort of stories this week, obviously the political sort of government, what's happened, and what's the expression, Rob? Sort of a week's a long time in politics, but possibly should be a day so far this week.
Indeed, with everything there, with the global economy, macro, micro positions changing so quickly, the show and the data and the intel, it could be daily instead of weekly with there's so much going on, James.
Definitely. And just bring us on to the sort of data this week, the sales data. So I'm going to dive straight in. So 386 new instructions this week. So really strong there, Rob. Up on last week, which in itself was a very good week for instructions. Good under offers, 244, which again, quite a bit up on the previous week and above average for the year. Sold numbers this week, 158. So just a couple down on last week's 160. Again, well above average for the year. So, Rob, we've had some really, really robust sales figures in the last few months there. And obviously we've had Halifax's house price index data coming out this week as well, which gives us another metric in terms of house price data. So, just to give you some headlines on that, just under 295,000 now, the average UK house price. Large monthly uptick, 1.8% growth. Quarterly is up 3.8%, whilst the annual house price growth, 13% on the Halifax house price index, Rob. Just to talk us through that. Absolutely massive annualised growth here.
Yeah, the demand is continuously out-fueling the supply. A lot of that comes from the larger property homes, which achieves the higher figures. It will be no surprise to everyone watching and listening, although we don't have the final few days of data yet for June, it has already been confirmed that June was the strongest month of the year for our prime and super prime sales, even without the last few days of the month, which clearly shows in line with the house price index and the numbers that are coming out that the market continues to be hot and buoyant, and there is a demand, especially at the upper range and the upper end. And I suppose the question now, again, and I keep repeating this and have done for quite a few weeks now, is How much more does the market have to keep giving? Will it continue to have the amount of sales that are taking place? Does it have more legs with all of the challenging economic factors that are going against us?
That's it, Rob. It's coming to that stage, and just to give you a bit more flavour on the data that Halifax have released, so 1.8% monthly rise on the house prices in the UK. That's the biggest monthly house price rise in 1 month we've seen since early 2007, and also it's the 12th consecutive monthly rise in the property prices. Annual growth of 13%. This is the highest since late 2004. So staggering annual growth there. And like we said, Rob, typical property now edging towards that £300,000 mark. And, you know, one of the factors that has been a huge shift in the last couple of years is the larger demand for those detached houses, with the average prices for detached house prices, they're rising at nearly twice the rate of flats over the past year, with obviously the land registry filtering the results on the house type, the detached, semi-detached, terrace, and also flats there. So it allows us to, you know, drive into that data. But I think, you know, that's been what all the agents are saying, Rob.
It's the same story. The house market is buoyant and there is the demand. We've got interest rates going up. We've got inflation continuing to rise. It will reach a point where the housing market will not be able to remain immune from the challenging economic environment that we're facing. You would have to say that that is something that probably will happen in Q3, Q4 of 2022.
That's it. I know that the Bank of England released a statement earlier this week, just focusing on the final 2 quarters of the year, that just cautioning that the growth is possibly going to be quite subdued in those quarters, and we'll have to wait and see what the GDP is, if we do get a negative quarter of growth in there or not. But in the same time, Rob, just going back to the house prices, there has been increased pressure on the household budgets, everything from the cost of living to inflation to obviously interest rates. This is likely to just subdue the housing market somewhat, and it's whether we felt that sort of really bite in terms of has it hit people's disposable income and the multiplier effects on the mortgages, the housing, and consumers, are they going to be able to continue to fund and sustain buying properties at these enhanced levels, which will drive the market growth further? We just have to sort of wait and see on that, and when those factors really bite.
Yeah, I think that what we're seeing now, especially prime, super prime, which is pushing up the average house price, as we've seen in the index, is that the disposable income is available at the medium top end of the socio-economic background, and really where things are being hit is the low income, low earners, where they're really feeling the pinch because of the cost of living increase, the interest rate increase, and the high energy prices. I think that's where you're seeing the bite, and at the moment I suppose medium, mid-range, upper tier income earners still have spending power.
That's it, and it really is those sort of commodity costs which keep rising, sort of obviously petrol prices, diesel prices, fuel, obviously gas prices, which most people are on sort of gas supplied boilers at home. It's all those commodity prices rising which are really impacting the cost of living, and hopefully that inflation just starts to taper off as we do hit the winter months, as you know, that is when people's disposable income is going to enhance in terms of their household bills, and we're going to have to wait and see how the UK economy and also some of the global economies, you know, how they're able to sort of rally against that. Just in terms of some further London news, Rob, the Old Oak and Park Royal Development Corporations, their local plan has been approved by the planning inspectorates this week. So, you know, a massive sector of London, just in sort of northwest, west London there. Typically an industrial area, lots of sort of light industrial uses there. It's not sort of a core residential area. And there's been obviously within the local plan 25,500 homes allocated for development in that area. That sits alongside the obviously the Crossrail station that's newly opened, rather than one of the enhanced or converted stations, Old Oak Common, which is opening there. So it's almost going to be a new sort of master plan area there, Rob, over the next sort of 25 years or so, building out sort of 25,000 homes or so. Some of the speculators are saying that's going to create 56,000 jobs. So that's going to really help to, in terms of the housing delivery, certainly in London and the UK, a large portion of the houses coming in just one sort of localised area. But I think it's, you know, the capital is desperately sort of in need of further housing supply. So amongst those 25,000 homes, there's going to be a mix of private and affordable. I know the sort of Sadiq Khan, the Mayor of London, their sort of benchmark on affordable housing is 50%. So we're going to have to wait and see there if those sort of reach those thresholds there. But I think it's very positive news in terms of that development and almost sort of new sort of residential sector in London.
Yeah, very exciting news. It's a good area with a good opportunity of regeneration. I think it could be a very strong project which would benefit the location for many years to come.
And as we spoke about, Rob, like many of the build-to-rent schemes we've seen, a lot of them are focusing along the new Elizabeth line, and it's really sort of providing that sort of access to central London for commuters and anyone which wants to travel into London, and also maybe facilitates that more sort of hybrid working, facilitating the access to London either on a sort of daily basis or 1 or 2 times per week.
Brilliant. Thanks for all of that, James. Really appreciate it. The big news for us on our 100th edition Bonanza show is that we won't be back next week with a UK Super Prime special. We will be back with our first quarterly Euro Super Prime EVA update with a special broadcast from one of our key partners in the EVA European Valuers Alliance. We're going to go into detail to one of the hotspot countries in Europe and share with you everything that's happening at a macro and micro level across the European market. So we're super excited for that. Make sure you don't miss it. It's going to be great, and we're going to be providing you that on a quarterly basis as the show expands to pan-European climates and markets, and we'll be sharing all of the best data and intel and insight of what's happening at pan-European level. So really excited for that. And this show will be back in a few weeks' time once that one has been broadcast. So really excited. Make sure you watch it. Keep with us on all the socials. Keep with us on all the podcasts. Keep with us on YouTube. And keep listening, watching, and asking the questions. And we will keep feeding you the data, the intel, and the economic updates on the property market through sales, through lending, and through risk, as always, as we do week in, week out. Thank you so much for the hundreds of thousands of watchers and listeners and subscribers over the last 100 shows. And here's to the next 100, James.
Thanks very much, Rob. Thanks very much, everyone.